So I got this video in my recommended called Watch This If You Feel Lonely and Sad by ENDYMIONtv and Mood. So I watched it and it was one of the most painful things I have ever watched on this freaking website. And it wasn't a motivational video like, oh, go call your grandma and make new friends. No, it was some freaking conservative right-wing garbage about how the freaking woke.
Why are men so single these days? Why can't they get women interested in them? Is it women's faults or are men to blame? Like I've said in my How Feminism Ruined Everything video,
I hate feminism, even though it's 2023. And why did the people who took the jab get ridiculed online for being stupid?
Look at how the people who didn't get the jab were treated by the news and on social media. Within a single year of propaganda, the government successfully indoctrinated and segregated the entire population into groups.
Like really, it's 2023 and this is what this guy is still talking about. Like what? Acceptance and toleration? Nah, I gotta be mad at something. So yeah, the video did make me sad, but mostly for this guy. And then I clicked on his channel page because I wanted to see what his other uploads were, and oh god. Oh no. Oh, Jesus. The best thing about all of this is in that video I mentioned, he said that rage baiting was bad for you.
It's designed to keep every side of every opinion out there in a constant, never-ending cycle of outrage, with the goal to monetize it and grow it further.
And although he does point out the hypocrisy because he literally rage baits, he says that it's good for him because he offers solutions.
The hypocrisy doesn't escape me, as I'm sure people will suggest my content is similar to this. And I can't even deny that yes, a lot of what I talk about is about stuff that outrages people or divides them. But whereas most content is designed for hate farming, I at least try to offer solutions and give a level-headed response.
Even though he has titles like Dove Soap Woman Gaming Ad Demands You Must Love Fat Ugly Woman or Else. And then I noticed that he had a review of Tears of the Kingdom, calling it overrated, and the thumbnail says, nostalgia blinds you. Ooh. And Tears of the Kingdom is actually the second Zelda game I've played, the first being Breath of the Wild. So I like the game, even though I don't have any nostalgia for it. Jeez, imagine what this guy thinks about that. Now I just have to say it, I am enjoying Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's really great. I think it is a really good upgrade to Breath of the Wild and is definitely worth $70. Even though I emulated it on the PC, but don't tell Mr. Nintendo that, please. Like the new abilities they added, like the fuse and the go through the ceiling thing, that's pretty cool. And they added the sky, which I thought was just gonna be, oh, okay, that's cool. But like, you can do things in the sky. And then I learned you can go underground and there's a whole other world underground that you can explore. That's awesome. I was basically expecting Breath of the Wild with like new mechanics and stuff like that, and hey, that's what I got. It was pretty good. And I'm interested in hearing new opinions, so let's hear what this guy has to say point by point. And I just have to say that the editing in this video is not gonna be good. I was making another video and then I found out all about this, and I had to make a video about this. Also, if you can tell, this video is unscripted. Yeah, because I'm probably gonna do a bunch of stuttering and stuff like that. So let's just see this guy's point. And also because I'm playing it emulated, the game speed may slow down and speed up a bit. And ignore those two stray pixels on the screen. I don't know how to fix that. And also, you may hear my bird in the background. Her name is Rosie.
What's up everyone, it's ENDYMION, and as you are definitely aware, the new Zelda game is now out in the wild, and I'm sure fans are devouring it for all it's worth this very second. While the new Zelda game is likely going to sell millions and be showered with praise, I feel like I'm alone in my viewpoint when it comes to Nintendo at large.
Okay, what he means by that, and what he mentions later on in the video, is that he thinks that people are blind to that Nintendo games suck, or they're overrated, or whatever he thinks. And that is reflected in the reviews, and that they're all positive, and not that just people like them. And at the end of the review, he actually does say that someone working at IGN did go work at Nintendo, which is evidence, so I'm not sure why he brought it up there.
Why the footage in this video is reversed, well, there's a reason for that, because Nintendo is notoriously anal as hell when it comes to content being made about their games.
I don't know what he means by this, because no part of the video is reversed. I bet he's just doing that to show that Nintendo is bad because they had bad stuff with their copyright a bit ago.
I genuinely feel that there is what I can only describe as Nintendo bias going on when it comes to Tears of the Kingdom's reviews. And later on in the video, I'll cover what one review site said about Kingdom, and they did not give it a glowing review, and the internet is seething.
Alright, that's an interesting thesis. Let's see what happens. Oh, and also, you know how we said that the internet is seething at this? He doesn't show any reaction to this article at all, so that's weird.
Obviously, reviews went live, the game got 10 out of 10 everywhere basically, and Nintendo fans are yet again frothing at the mouth for Kingdom.
You're probably gonna notice this throughout the review, but it's like he's talking down to Nintendo fans for liking the game and having a different opinion than him, which rubs me the wrong way and just reeks of smug condescension and really doesn't make you seem flexible with other people's opinions.
There's a few game franchises out there that I genuinely believe get preferential treatment from gaming review sites. Whenever a new game in one of these franchises comes out, it's like reviewers go from doing their jobs to just becoming fanboys, and they just start slinging 10s like it's candy.
Alright, that's an interesting thesis. Now let's hear the evidence. Spoiler alert, it's because he didn't like Skyward Sword. And also that employee, but that's one person in a large corporation, and it doesn't directly show that she did that in order to get a job at Nintendo. The next 2.5 minutes of the review is just him saying why he didn't like Skyward Sword, and while I haven't played Skyward Sword, he is definitely valid for his opinion, but the way he treats other opinions is just mean and spiteful.
I was dozens of hours into Skyward Sword, and felt like the Metacritic score was blatantly lying to me. How in the holiest of hells was this game a must-play masterpiece? The review sites praised it so much and said it was the best thing since the invention of garlic bread, so was I missing something? Was I to blame? Is there something here that I just can't see, or could it be that just maybe that Skyward Sword wasn't a masterpiece in the first place?
Hey Endy, let me tell you something a little bit about opinions. Well, yes, it is definitely possible that these reviews could be biased because they got the game for free or they were paid to give it a good review. Everyone isn't going to interpret the same piece of art in the same way. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. That's just how the world works. Also, why are you putting Metacritic on a pedestal as if it's the holy grail when it comes to liking video games? You do realize that it's possible to form your own opinion on that stuff, right? I mean, you didn't like the thing that everyone else liked. However, that doesn't give you credit in order to say that everyone else is blinded with nostalgia for liking the game.
10 years later, it's largely agreed by legions of Nintendo fans online that Skyward Sword was not a great game. Of course, this realization mostly came once Breath of the Wild released and Nintendo fans realized how limiting Sword was.
Dang, are you gonna back that up with any evidence? No? Oh, okay.
Breath of the Wild was given even more praise and was yet again scored almost perfectly across the board, with review sites citing it was yet again the best game ever made and was a masterpiece. Recently, GQ magazine asked a bunch of people who work in video games to compile a list of the best 100 games of all time. And of course, number one, as you probably guessed, was Breath of the Wild.
Okay, I think he definitely missed the point there. Notice how it said people in the video game industry, not regular people. You know, people who know how to make video games and what is put into them. And this right here is going to be my opinion. I don't know if this is going to be valid criticism of what he's saying, but I do think that Breath of the Wild is a really mechanically great game. You're given so much to do and it doesn't feel overwhelming. The world is made around the mechanics, which means that it utilizes the mechanics or the abilities of the Sheikah Slate that you get in the game to the fullest, and there's tons of ways that you can tackle each combat encounter. Now, putting all that together in one big open world, I would say is pretty impressive. And I think it would be more impressive to people who understand how to make mechanics in the world work together like that. Also, I haven't played The Last of Us, but I love what he says about it.
Then The Last of Us at second place, which blows my mind cause remove that game's cutscenes and all you're left with is a standard third-person shooter.
If you remove the story from the game, you get gameplay! Also, he said that he actually liked Breath of the Wild.
Thankfully, I was pleasantly surprised and I genuinely found Wild to be a great game. Yet again, I found the story of Wild to be borderline non-existent to the point that it almost felt like having a story to begin with was almost pointless to the overall game.
I do agree that the story in Breath of the Wild isn't the best, but to me, it seems like it's a vehicle in order for the player to experience all of these new things and use all of these abilities.
I also found things like weapons breaking to be kind of annoying. I thought the food mechanic and healing in general to be dated and unintuitive.
Dated and unintuitive? What? You go to the food menu, press on a food, press eat, and you eat the food. He could be talking about the cooking system, but there's like hundreds of combinations of things that you can do. How is that archaic? Also, how else are we supposed to heal ourselves? Potions? That's pretty archaic.
I thought it laid the foundation for a much better game in the future, but again, it got 10 out of 10 everywhere and was literally called the best game ever by modern game journos just recently.
Okay, you do know that there are other people talking about video games other than journalists? Like, just Google Tears of the Kingdom review on YouTube and you'll have tons of videos made by people who aren't video games journalists talking about the game. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but Metacritic has a user review option.
Which brings us to Tears of the Kingdom, the newest nostalgia-bait Nintendo game on the market.
Nostalgia bait because it's a Zelda game and that's an old franchise? He literally doesn't say anything else. He just says it's nostalgia bait, then moves on.
Apparently, it addresses a lot of my complaints with Wild and opens up the map to the sky and beyond. It all sounds very enticing, but strangely enough, I'm just not excited about it.
Hey, did you notice the way he phrased that? Did you notice what he said there? Did you hear that?
Based on the footage I've seen of the game, it looks like a massive expansion for Breath of the Wild.
He hasn't played the game. He hasn't played the game at all. He is saying all of this stuff, and then what do we get away from it? Nothing, because he hasn't even played it. I lost my mind whenever I saw this. You can't just title a video, "This game is overrated," and then just not have played the game. How does that even work? That's not how any of this works, my guy.
As someone who plays primarily on my PS5, the concept of playing a game in 2023 that has load times, it's a huge turnoff for me.
What's wrong with load times? Games gotta load stuff, or else nothing will load. I don't get this. And he doesn't say anything else again because he doesn't bring up any of his points or try and refute them at all. Also, my friends who actually use their Switch said that the load times in Tears of the Kingdom are actually pretty good, so this point is null and void.
In a long laundry list of problems I have with Nintendo, from being ass backwards when it comes to content creation or selling remasters of average at best games at full price.
Okay, let me tell you something. The stuff that Nintendo does on YouTube has nothing to do with the game Tears of the Kingdom. And I agree, a lot of stuff that Nintendo does is freaking stupid, like that 6-month Mario thing. But like, you gotta separate art from the artist here because, yeah, it has nothing to do with Tears of the Kingdom and how it was made.
I just find Nintendo's reluctance to harness the power of modern technology to be one of its biggest problems.
I mean, isn't it kind of impressive that Nintendo made a game that looks this good and has this much content in it on outdated hardware?
Of course, power isn't everything, and really it's creativity and passion that determines whether a game is good or not, which I'm sure Kingdom is.
You're sure that Tears of the Kingdom is a good game with a lot of creativity and it's good, yet you titled it overrated. What are you trying to do here?
But how long until Kingdom inevitably becomes the best game of all time until it's dethroned again by the next Zelda game?
Do you know why people think that Tears of the Kingdom is good? Because they think that it's better than Breath of the Wild. In sequels, you just don't do the same thing over and over again, expecting change, like the definition of insanity. There's new things to try out, new worlds to explore, and sometimes those games are better.
In my opinion, I think Zelda is genuinely unfairly reviewed and is given higher praise simply because of nostalgia and brand recognition. I firmly believe Nintendo could release an expansion for Tears that's 3 to 5 hours long with no story and one new dungeon, and review sites will just slap 10 out of 10 because it's Zelda.
That evidence seems pretty anecdotal, which it means it's bad. Oh, and then there's this part where he brings up the G Infinity review. Oh, this is just the best. Okay, what he did was he found a review from like the hundreds of video game review websites out there that didn't say that it was a perfect game, and used that review to say, guys, look, see, my opinion is validated, woo! And then like the majority of the rest of the video is just him reading the article.
G Infinity, who scored Kingdom a 6 out of 10. Not only will this review get the staff harassed by Nintendo fans, which yet again adds to how I think Nintendo fans are kind of insufferable when it comes to these things.
Oh my god, like, okay, so up until now, it seemed kind of silly that he was saying that, but now it just, like, it seems like he just wants to hate on Nintendo fans, which probably makes sense because he didn't even play the game and he's making this review about it. And you could say that it isn't a review because he's trying to talk about Nintendo fans, but the title says, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is overrated. So you would expect him to explain why in his own words, but no, he doesn't. Which I think is really funny because at the end of that video I showed you at the beginning, he says to question everything.
To start, I want you to always question everything you see.
So how do we know that this review isn't lying? Hey, you want to know how? By playing the game. And while I do agree that the stuff in the Gfinity review is valid criticism, they are not the views of Mr. ENDYMIONtv. He just cherry-picked this review from like probably the thousands on the internet and he's using this to validate his claim. Honestly, it feels weird critiquing what he's saying because it's not actually him saying, it's the guy who wrote the Gfinity article, but hey, I'll try it.
The world doesn't feel barren per se, but the rewards for exploring it are virtually non-existent or largely inconsequential.
You know, if this guy had actually played the game, he would have known that they added caves and wells, and there's a whole bunch of stuff you can get in them, and there's even enemies specific to these caves. There's even boss fight ones and ones that just have a lot of gems, which you can sell for rupees, which are something.
A surprise fight with a dragon is always appreciated, but when the reward is just another shrine, my enthusiasm to explore takes a nosedive.
Wait, you get shrines for killing those dragons? That's pretty good. I haven't beat a dragon yet, and I didn't know that you got that. That's actually pretty cool. Also, shrines are actually good. Whenever you complete a shrine, you get an item which, when used with other items like it, you can upgrade your character, so I'm not sure why the article is saying that shrines are a bad thing.
Koroks and their bag upgrades remain virtually meaningless due to the returning throwaway combat mechanics.
I mean, if you have more weapons, that's more weapons to use through the fight. You last longer in the fight, you know? Also, talking about Tears of the Kingdom, I just never did that stuff where, like, there's the Korok on the ground, he's like, I need to find my friend. I didn't really like doing that, so I didn't do those.
Heart containers and stamina upgrades are still limited to shrines that are rarely hard to find.
You also get heart containers for beating the regional bosses. Oh my god.
A good puzzle is always fun to solve, but when the world is littered with the things, a pat on the back isn't enough of a reason to seek them out.
Okay, so the puzzles are good, so you like them. And there's a lot of them, so you don't like them. Okay.
The stakes feel a tad cartoonish with everyone managing to make do with the regional phenomenon your task was solving.
Wasn't there like regional phenomenon in the last game with all of the divine beasts? What about those? But then again, he is parroting the ideas of someone else, so we're not going to know anything about what he actually feels.
And the voice work still isn't a decision I can agree with when there are so many NPCs out there still rocking the amusing efforts from the franchise's traditionally near silent cast.
You do realize that the voice acting only happens in like the cutscenes, and that shows that something interesting is going to happen. It was even in Breath of the Wild. Why are you complaining?
End quote. None of this surprises me, and it's annoying to be proven right that yet again the story doesn't do much new and a lot of the optional content is just pointless busy work.
You didn't prove anything, you just cherry-picked a review and you didn't even play the game. You know, maybe the fact that a lot of people say the same thing about one work should mean that, like, that's how it is? Yeah, I know that sounds wrong and that's not really sound logic, but the way he's saying it, it's like, oh, this one review on this one website mentioned these things, and so everyone else is just ignoring that. No! People just had different expectations than you, and those expectations were met. It's like the whole Mario movie thing again. One side wanted one thing, and one side wanted another, and one side got what they wanted.
After all, like I said in a video months back, there is bias in the gaming community.
I have no idea what video that is, and he doesn't mention it by name, and whenever I look up ENDYMIONtv, gaming community, I just see a whole bunch of videos, and I'm not gonna look through all that stuff. My brain, needs to be recharged after watching this video.
Remember that people like Audrey Drake at IGN used to give glowing reviews to Nintendo games only to work for them in the future.
Okay, at first I thought, wait, this is actually sound logic, but then I realized that no, it doesn't fit with what he's saying. She reviewed the game, then she got a job, which the only way there could be bias there is if she gave good reviews because she wanted to work for Nintendo. Which may have happened, but we don't really know. He just made a grand assumption about it all. And yes, he does mention that thing with the Kotaku editor and the 1940s imagery history that he apparently posted after Nintendo blacklisted them, which I don't know what that means. Let me look it up. Okay, it seems like they got blacklisted for leaking the game, so yeah, that's pretty justified.
Regardless, in the end, I just always view Nintendo first-party reviews with a heavy dose of skepticism.
Then don't watch them. Play the game on your own. Form your own opinions. Nobody is tying you up Clockwork Orange style and forcing you to watch a video where some guy gives a Zelda game a 10 out of 10. The reviews shouldn't honestly matter. What matters is your experience and how you interpret it, not your opinion on some guy who works for some company that you don't even know. Like, if you get upset with the video game score, not the reasoning behind it, but just the score, then that's all on you, honestly.
While Nintendo's first-party titles may be seen as the beacons of what video games can be in the future, the company behind these landmark titles couldn't be any more different than their products.
And there we go, not separating art from the artist. Yeah, I don't like Nintendo as a company, but the people who made this game, the game developers, are not the same people who struck down the Edicon thing, made Mario 3D All-Stars only available for 6 months, or did all of that copyright stuff he was talking about. Like, Nintendo isn't this big amorphous blob where everyone working at them is literally the exact same because there are different people out there. And I think that this guy either got too caught up in this mindset or is just rage baiting, which in that other video he said that people shouldn't do. But in that video he also says that he tries to give solutions to things, and what's the solution in this video? It's literally nothing. And that's the video. The title makes it seem like he's actually gonna talk about the game, but no, it's just 16 minutes of a guy going, I hate Nintendo, I hate Nintendo. And if he can make fun of Nintendo fans, then I can make fun of him too. Obviously, the worst thing about all of this is that he hasn't even played Tears of the Kingdom. In fact, he released this the same day it came out. The same day. He knows what he's doing. And the like to dislike ratio is actually like way larger than I expected. I have no idea why people are agreeing with him. He says the game is overrated, and he says he doesn't play it, yet people agree with him. I don't understand that. So yeah, I don't really trust this ENDYMION guy. I'm sure his stuff would be fun to watch in an oh my god, people still think like this way, what the heck kind of way. But god, I only watched 2 of these videos and I don't even want to know what the woke mind virus is killing the Walt Disney Company is like. And oh my god, just as I was done editing this, he uploaded a new video called Woke Game Journalists Push Gender Identity on Zelda Fans, plus Tears of the Kingdom's Link is a gay icon. What kind of world are we living in? Oh, this is amazing. And yeah, I know this is cliche, and don't attack this guy, and I literally mean it. I'm just giving some criticism of his video. And Tears of the Kingdom is freaking awesome. Have a good day.